Hello and welcome to Breakfast All Day. Matt here with Christy and Alonso. Next up is Judas and the Black Messiah. I have unfortunately not had a chance to see this, but Christy and Alonso have, and they will tell you all about it. Who's describing?
Me. So this is premiering on HBO Max this weekend and theatrically, and I guess because of the extended Oscar deadline, this was able to have its premiere at Sundance and now open in February and still be, I guess, part of this qualifying year. So it is co-written and directed by Shaka, and this is the story of the FBI going after Fred Hampton of the Chicago chapter of the Black Panther Party. Daniel Kaluuya plays Hampton. Lakeith Stanfield plays Bill O'Neill, who is a car thief who is looking at a lot of jail time unless he becomes an FBI informant and goes undercover on their behalf into the party and reports on what's going on and helps the FBI in disrupting things. The agent that is sort of controlling him is played by Jesse Plemons, a fairly bizarrely made up Martin Sheen as J. Edgar Hoover. This is really interesting to watch right after the documentary MLK FBI, because both films are about Hoover's obsession with Black civil rights leaders and him viewing them as a threat, and the FBI going out of their way to undermine their work, to destroy them personally if possible. And, this takes us all the way through to Hampton's assassination by the FBI and eventually what happened to O'Neill as well. I think we're really starting to see some interesting takes on not just this period of history, but I think the idea of the historical biopic. Like, there has been such a kind of safe formula that these movies tend to follow, and you can kind of like guess exactly where they're going to go. And King is doing something that maybe not quite on the level of what Steve McQueen does in Mangrove, but is at least like taking this movie where we think we know what the pieces are and what the sequences are going to be, and kind of plays around with it some. And this is, a fairly, I'm kind of shocked that Warner Brothers is making this movie, because this is a movie that is about like Black revolutionaries and about how the FBI conspired to bring them down in a way that feels very anti-authoritarian and very like, it's not radical filmmaking in the formal sense, but it is filmmaking about radicalism, and really kind of gives you the POV of what the Panthers were fighting against, how Hampton was able to bring together like not just like the Black community in Chicago, but also like the white supremacist community, but people who were working class and also struggling under the economic standards of the time, and then also like the Puerto Rican community as well. And like he was Rainbow Coalition way before Jesse Jackson ever got there. I've seen some people on Twitter pick apart the fact that Fred Hampton was like 21 when he died, and Daniel Kaluuya is maybe a little old to be taking on the role, but he's super dynamic. I don't know my Chicago accents well enough to judge how much he sounds like Hampton, but he doesn't sound like, you can tell when a British actor is struggling with an American accent, and I think it's very natural. Stanfield playing this very conflicted character who, on the one hand, the closer that he gets to Hampton and the more that he's involved with what the Panthers do with the breakfast programs and their other things, realizes that he's on the wrong side, but he's also trapped. So yeah, I think this is, a fascinating bit of American history that a lot of people don't know, and it's told in a very dynamic way.
It is interesting that you mentioned Steve McQueen, because Sean Bobbitt, who is Steve McQueen's longtime cinematographer, who shot 12 Years a Slave and Hunger and Shame, also shot this.
Oh,
and I think that kind of artistry within what is a pretty traditionally structured narrative really elevates so much of this. I mean, the performances, as you said, are incredible. Daniel Kaluuya is electrifying. Lakeith Stanfield gets to play so many different versions of this guy, because from the very beginning, he's pretending to be somebody he's not.
Right.
He's pretending to be an FBI agent to steal a car. And then he has to be his actual self, but like a version of himself with the FBI, and then another whole version of himself with the Black Panthers, and the inner conflict that exists as he gets to know them and begin to appreciate what they're doing. And it's edited so beautifully. Like, again, like we know where this is going, and yet is always this really like this push, this propulsive forward motion, and we're always on edge. But all throughout, from the very first shots, there's like a low angle shot of Lakeith Stanfield's character like walking down the street at night, approaching a nightclub, and like the red neon from the nightclub sign is reflecting off of the sidewalk and off of his coat. And like from the very beginning, we are transported, and yet it feels real and alive and important. It's a really cool artistic and thematic balance that is going on here. And also, as you say, we just saw MLK FBI, but also we've seen the trial of Chicago 7, which kind of also is part of this period in time, this place in time.
Sure.
I think also a Black Klansman, in terms of what they are showing in terms of civil rights and of course, just from the costuming perspective. I really dug this. It sounds, potentially like an eat your vegetables kind of movie, but it's not. It is thrilling from the very beginning, and just Daniel Kaluuya, man, he can just do everything. Like Lakeith can do everything. Lakeith can be hilarious, and he can be romantic. And then this, I think, is the best thing he's ever done, because again, he's called on to play so many different, slightly shaded, like really slightly nuanced versions of the same guy.
Yeah. And he has this like real arc. I mean, like Fred Hampton's kind of the same guy at the beginning of the movie as at the end of the movie, but Lakeith Stanfield's character is really going through these changes where he goes from being a total opportunist to like, he signs on to do this just to keep himself out of jail. Oh, and there's money too. Great. But then like the more that he understands the real conflict between these two, between the FBI and the Panthers, like, comes to understand that he's doing the wrong thing, that he is the Judas in this situation. So I was, you're right. This is the movie. This could have very much been a sort of like classroom film, but it is it feels vital, and it feels, electrifying.
Yeah. I really also like Dominique Fishback as Deborah Johnson, who was his girlfriend and the mother of his child.
Yes.
And she is as strong as he is in her opinions and in her actions, and is not just like, the hanger-on woman who is by his side. I mean, she's very much her own strong woman, and kind of opens his eyes to a lot of his own potential power. Jesse Plemons is always great and is so subtly like menacing. Like the thing with Jesse Plemons so often is he looks so sweet, you guys. He looks like such a nice guy, but there's always some like undercurrent of something deeply fucked up going on with his characters.
Yeah,
and that balance he finds is great.
He and Jake Lacey are really good at playing like just sort of average kind of Midwestern white guys, but there's something else going on, like not all that deep under the surface.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the makeup that Martin Sheen has to wear to play J. Edgar Hoover, because he kind of looks like Rudy Giuliani. It's weird.
Yeah, it's sort of like, I mean,
so he's got like dripping stuff on the side of his face.
It's weird. It's rubbery. It's weird.
We've already accepted that a movie in which J. Edgar Hoover looks like Leonardo DiCaprio, so pretty much all bets are off. Come on.
Anyway, this is really good. I'm saying 9.
I said 9 also, and it's on HBO Max, so like you don't even have to leave the house to see it, and you should see it. So thanks for watching, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Like this video if you're enjoying it. And of course, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We are keeping up with WandaVision. We are catching up with Bridgerton. And we have a cool Black History Month thing coming up later in the month where our subscribers will pick one of 6 films from a Black filmmaker that we'll be talking about later in February. So come around for that as well. That's exclusively for our Patreon subscribers. Have a good week, you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.